Alright, so I recently watched the new, as of today, Scott the Woz video about childhood game collections, and I thought it was a really good, interesting video and overall topic with just how similar yet different people's journeys in this hobby could be. So I thought it would be interesting to hear other people's stories as well as tell my own. My story actually begins with the PlayStation 1, I believe in the year 2000. I know it wasn't later than 2000, but maybe it could have been earlier. This is just a rough estimate. Unfortunately, no one recorded that historical moment for me. I might actually go and ask my parents at some point if they could fill in any of the fuzzy memories that I'm having with all this stuff, but I kind of doubt they would remember either. These probably weren't as big of milestones for them as they were for me. But the PlayStation was pretty much a hand-me-down from my father. I don't know how the story goes, but my uncle probably convinced him to play Metal Gear Solid. That was the main game he played on it. My dad's always been like a big car guy, so I remember he had like a racing wheel on the computer, and he'd play some simulators there, which growing up I thought that was really cool just to have that like the real car. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play around with it that much. At the same time, I can't blame him. I think when me and my sibling were a bit older, we were given free reign over it, and I think we broke the wheel very quickly, so I can't blame him for being hesitant about that. But I remember he had two racing games on it, being Crash Team Racing, which he played a little bit. Both of them he only really played a little bit, and NASCAR 99. He also had two games. I'm not really sure where they came from. Like I said, my uncle sort of played a role in getting him the PlayStation 1, I think. So I wouldn't be surprised if he sort of threw these in or convinced him to get them to see if he got a little more into it, or maybe my dad just recognized the names and got them on his own. I kind of doubt they were given to me specifically, just because I know a lot of the games that were bought for me, as you'll see, were more just licensed cartoon stuff. But yeah, they were Rampage World Tour and Pitfall 3D Beyond the Jungle. The first game I ever played, though, that he had was Fisherman's Beta Bass Challenge, which I think was also simultaneously gotten for his father-in-law, who's, of course, my mom's father, who really loved fishing. In fact, I think he would eventually even get his own PlayStation 1 and copy of this game down the road, which in retrospect is kind of surprising just because he was probably my oldest and least technologically advanced grandparent. Never had a computer, pretty much only used the TV and the phone, landline. So I guess it's not the grandparent who you would have expected to, be getting into PlayStation a little bit. And he had a Wii too, and Wii Sports when that was a thing. I don't know, I almost wonder looking back on it if having me play this game first was almost a test for him to see how easy it is to teach someone who may not be experienced with the medium at that point, how easy that might be. So this game, out of all games, probably holds a very special place in my heart because of, playing it with my grandfather and being the very first game I ever played. Probably a little more special to me than it is to a majority of people, I guess. But yeah, we also had a bunch of demo discs, but that Metal Gear and Pitfall I never played. I mean, I was only like, 4 or 5 at the time, so I probably wasn't allowed to play Metal Gear. I don't think my parents ever outright said it, though. I think they were probably more smart with it. They just said, oh, it's your dad's game. And it's kind of like movies. And as a kid, it's kind of like, that sounds boring. A game about boring politics or weather or financials that adults deal with, and not, one of the greatest action stealth drama games ever made. The plain white cover probably didn't help my interpretation either. And I don't know, I think because Pitfall sort of also had a boring cover, and I think some of the demo disc also were just a plain solid color and a logo. I just thought it was all boring shit. As they got stuff for me, the one that probably stood out the most was probably Rugrats Search for Reptar. Like, I was really into Rugrats for a while, until SpongeBob came on, and Jimmy Neutron. But I thought this game was really cool, like just exploring around the house like it was in the show. It had some, mini games and stuff. I remember getting stuck at a level that was based off an episode that I believe scared me, where the father, Stu, I think, invents this, like, crazy toy that chases the characters around at night. And there was a level based on that, and I don't remember if I got stuck or scared from it, but I just never completed it. I also got Tigger's Honey Hunt. I doubt it holds up, but I actually remember sort of liking this game too. It had some fun mini games, and it's my first exposure, I think, to a platformer, which to this day is one of my favorite genres. And I remember it doing a decent job at that. I also think I had both these Elmo games, the number one and the letter one. I don't remember them as well. I kind of remember those screenshots you see on the side of being in the garden area with the giant numbers, but that's pretty much it. A little further down the line, I wound up really getting into and liking Rampage World Tour. But especially early on, a lot of the games, besides the ones I've only mentioned more specifics on, I didn't really play too much of. Besides Crash Team Racing, I played the shit out of this game. A game that really sort of did a great job at balancing, a young kid just playing on easy to, offering, higher difficulties and bonus challenges that you start getting into when you're older that keep you coming back. Very great formula that, of course, Mario Kart has also done very well through the years, and really also enjoyed the Nitro Fueled re-release. There was also two other games I got later down the line, I'm guessing around 2001, that both sort of relate to this game. The first was Nicktoons Racing, which was alright, I guess, but I would much rather play Crash Team Racing. The other was Crash 3 Warped, and just like Team Racing, I was sucked right in immediately. I'm actually surprised, thinking back on it, that I didn't get salty that this wasn't another kart racer. But yeah, I think I overall still played Team Racing more, but I played the shit out of this game too. It was probably one of the very first games I beat with Crash Team Racing. That I don't know when I beat that one, actually. When it finally occurred to me that there's unlockables and fun to be had in adventure mode as opposed to, just doing single races and Grand Prix. But yeah, I'm not going to be doing this all in one shot. I'm going to do system by system, so that will wrap up this part.